So when you turn 50, they put up younger people in your place, and then ask you to do crazy things. So I am not Josh. I am Alex. So Josh Gordon Blake, who's kind of our head of fintech at MoneyGram, was supposed to be here. He's flying. His plane was delayed, so I am the stand-in. So you have to be nice to me, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I think Jordan's going to ask some questions later, potentially. He's in the front in case anybody wants to ask him anything. And then I think I was supposed to introduce Josh, but I won't. Actually, Josh is new to the company, started about a month and a half ago. I'll just say that he came from Pangea, so a lot of experience in the money transfer space. He loves what we're doing with Stellar, loves what we're doing in the crypto space, generally speaking, so a lot of exciting activities. He will be coming to the conference. He'll be here in the next couple of days, so I am going to do my best on his presentation. This is actually kind of fun because I'm sure I've seen these slides somewhere in my life. But I have actually no idea what's coming on the slides as I go. So we're going to learn together and go from there. But definitely catch up with Josh while he's here. He's really excited to meet everybody, and this is kind of his first opportunity to be at Meridian. So this is a quick snapshot of MoneyGram for those of you that aren't overly familiar with us. We are one of the largest money transfer companies in the world, long-standing brand name. Basically moving money from point A to point B across 200 countries and territories, and moving, $170 billion a year, about 40 billion of which ends up going cross-border. And really, since 2018, we've been working on sort of our foray into crypto and stablecoin utilization and partnering with Stellar on MoneyGram Access and a number of really exciting things. And so, if you kind of read this chart, or if you've seen this before, if this was 20 years ago, we're really just talking about the stuff in the gray, right? We're moving money cash to cash, right, through our agent network, 400,000 plus agents around the world. And as we've kind of scaled, we've added sending on the MoneyGram.com side. We've added digital partners for sending. And I'm really proud that we've got the crypto piece in the middle and all of it sort of flowing seamlessly between our systems and our networks and our technologies. We're using probably the strongest KYC standards in the industry, and we're actually applying those sometimes with not a lot of fanfare into your world, but we actually take those standards and apply them into the crypto space as well because we're regulated in so many markets. That's what regulators demand, and so it's actually really kind of cool because we're able to sort of interoperate and sort of move things seamlessly. And our vision and our goal is to really actually try to make really crypto through stablecoin back to fiat as seamless as possible for all of our partners and our customers as well. The other thing that happens as you get older is that your glasses stop working properly, so you can't actually see what's on your phone without taking them off. So that's another learning for all you young people out there. Okay. Cool. All right. That's a Formula One car. What I really wanted to sort of just kind of share on this slide more than anything is our global brand awareness, depending on where you are in the world, sort of is either close to 100 or a little bit less, and obviously depending on the market, depending how long we've been there. But globally, about 68% brand awareness. In some markets, again, it's 100%. In other markets, it's north of 80%. We spend a lot of time and energy and money on our brand. We try to invest quite a bit in that. Part of the opportunity in the Formula One space was to present the company and our product a little bit differently. Going back to that first chart, when you're moving cash to cash around the world, there is a perception that you can be a bit of an older brand, antiquated, and not really up to speed on what's happening in the world. About 50% of all of our transactions today on the send side are digital. About 35% of all our transactions on the receive side are digital. And it is the fastest growing piece of our business. And so, speed, technology advancements, and all that are really going into the brand and the brand awareness and the transition from kind of the traditional markets, which is really awesome and pretty exciting for us. Okay, this is a brief snapshot of actually kind of our coverage and sort of a different way to look at it. We are obviously very banked. We have a lot of licenses. And we do touch a lot of funds and move a lot of money. We actually interoperate with about 120 different currencies around the world, 5 billion different digital endpoints. moving money through, again, all the different permutations before, cash to cash, cash to digital, digital to cash, digital to digital, and then obviously interoperating through buy-sell crypto. We've recently launched in the United States MoneyGram Account, which is giving consumers the ability to actually have a traditional kind of pass-through bank account on the MoneyGram app, get a debit card. And then obviously this morning we just announced that we launched the MoneyGram wallet as well, which is enabling consumers to have a USDC-powered wallet separate and distinct from our traditional MoneyGram.com account, but basically ability to send and receive USDC. So we're rounding out the business pretty quickly, and then obviously global scale is important. We don't have a huge team. We've got 2,200 people, but about 400 engineers within that. We do run 24/7 global support lines, which is helpful for customers. And one of the things I'll touch on in a little bit is really the 400,000 physical locations and how the importance of that from a cash in and cash out perspective really works, but also how things like MoneyGram Locator and some of the challenges we've had in building and kind of growing MoneyGram Access, really trying to use the rails differently than we traditionally do, has led to some opportunities to partner with you guys in some different ways. So as we kind of think about where we're going as an organization, it's really trying to think through different use cases, different permutations of what you see on the slide, and how to continue to create sort of this dynamic interoperability. So when you think about how we sort of approach the market, we really do think about it in a number of different ways. Around the world, we do have a lot of bank partners in many markets. Many of you are probably familiar, countries in Africa, as example, parts of Asia, even down into South America. Oftentimes, you have to be a bank in order to be sort of in the payment remittance flow. It's why so many of you have opportunities to kind of displace that and change it. But we do obviously then move a lot of our money in the background through banks. Again, that's an opportunity where things like stablecoin technology and end-to-end settlement can actually begin to change that paradigm. We have a lot of retailers as well. So, in the United States in particular, but across Europe, in many markets, cash is still, super important. Oftentimes a retailer, pawn shops in the Philippines as an example, guys like Electra and some of the other partners I'm sure many of you know in Mexico. Really important that we have access and endpoints there. Digital merchants, telco partners and others are becoming obviously very, very important to the front end technologies. Consumers are more and more getting paid into accounts, getting paid differently than they were before. So while the importance of cash to cash still exists, that's obviously shifting and changing and something that we're pretty sensitive to as we think about how to reposition and kind of continue to change the business. The access points to mobile and digital assets, but mobile wallets in particular, especially fiat wallets, partners in many markets around the world. We have about 162 wallets right now enabled through the MoneyGram system to send and receive funds. Places like Philippines with Gcash are sort of displacing, some of our partners that have been there for a long time, like in the pawn shop world where cash to cash used to be so super important. You see the same thing happening in so many markets around the world. At the end of the day, we're also trying to tap into use cases as well, things like creator economy, things like getting payments moved. In the old days, when you're doing cash to cash, you needed two consumers, right, on every transaction. You have to move money from one person to another because someone had to go put cash on a counter, someone had to go pick up cash at the counter on the receive side. When you start moving into digital, and you guys know this, but it simplifies and changes use cases. I can send $50 to someone's mobile wallet as a payment. I can send $500, $10,000 back to my own bank account in a foreign market to save money for later. I can also send money to mom, and she can walk and pick it up in cash, and so on and so forth. But the markets are changing so dynamically and so quickly that the use cases and sort of what are consumers doing, what do they need, and sort of what's that everyday use case is really kind of pushing the MoneyGram agenda and sort of the ideas behind where we want to go as a company. It was never my idea to do sort of banking and pass-through banking as sort of like a feature that I think is sort of front and center for MoneyGram, but it is an add-on and bolt-on service that is needed, and that's where MoneyGram Wallet and some of these other features come in as well. So this is a kind of a snapshot, sort of a different way to think about who those partners are that we work with and sort of the importance that they play in kind of building a MoneyGram ecosystem, right? I mean, many of you are out there looking for partners, and a lot of it is sort of, some of these you'd say, well, don't you compete with them? And the answer is yes. On the other hand, they're also partners for us, and they do sort of front end and back end things, and help make the world go around. Companies that are kind of pushing the envelope of change. Mercado Pagos and WeChat's, ByteDance, with TikTok, and obviously, partners on the humanitarian aid side as well, are utilizing the MoneyGram rails, very, very differently. And also, what's really kind of amazing about what we've been able to do is that through the MoneyGram direct rails, we can partner with UNICEFs and UNHCRs and have cash paid out through traditional models. Through partnership with Stellar and the Stellar Access, we're actually able to take Lumen, or we're able to take stablecoin and actually push it through partner wallets as well and make those available for payout into digital wallets for consumers that have been displaced. And so a lot of really exciting change happening, not just in sort of the traditional way, but also through alternative rails. I think these guys are sort of like, 10 years ago I'd be saying they're the single most important part of our business. Today it's like they're nice to haves, but they're not critical, but they are critical when consumers need cash. And so it's illustrative of sort of the change. Apple Pays, again, how do you think about serving customers in different ways? How do you make your partnerships more valuable? And actually, how do you think about, kind of changing user experiences and shifting the paradigm with that? And even companies like Visa, which you could argue compete with all of us, they also are super important partners for us too at the same time. Pushing money to Visa cards is quite unique. Obviously, pulling funds from Visa, MasterCard, et cetera, really, really important for online transfers. And so as we build this out, you got to think about kind of front end and back end as you move down the road. This is really kind of, again, re-emphasizing and sort of putting a finer point on why and where and how these really come into play as you think about different use cases and you think about what consumers are looking to do every day. Very traditional sort of what's that market demand, why are consumers picking up cash? On the other hand, over here, what's going on with digital wallets and why are consumers sort of focused on that? And again, it really does become an individual choice and it becomes kind of a use case. In the middle, obviously, so many displaced people around the world, so many people in need. MoneyGram rails traditionally were about send, receive within the MoneyGram ecosystem, and now it's about we've got all these wonderful locations around the world. We have all this incredible technology with digital wallet partners, all sorts of different crypto wallet partners as well, and it becomes a question of what is that need and how do we take advantage of our systems and our capabilities and technologies to try to actually push the world and make it a better place. When we launched the UNHCR with the Stellar Aid Assist, we actually were able to right away hit 1,500 individuals and disperse about $1.1 million, which I think is pretty remarkable. Over the several years we've been partnering in this space, we've actually been able to distribute over $400 million over the last several years of aid disbursement through our services, which I think is pretty incredible. And again, this is where things like MoneyGram Access really begin to change what you're capable of doing as well. You plug in the MoneyGram Access rails, consumers suddenly have a different way to access the funds, and you can actually push different value through your wallets. Accessibility, fast and convenient, secure and reliable. I think almost everyone building anything these days is going to use some sort of variable of those phrases. But for us, it really does mean the difference between getting money and not getting money. And I think as you think about what we've done with MoneyGram Access and sort of the Stellar network, is we've really been able to transform sort of the back end of our systems and services and really make the business a lot more dynamic than it was before. When I think about accessibility, when you think about the challenges of like the traditional model, that's where banks begin to fail you. That's where banks become challenging. That's where you've got expensive things like currency and foreign exchange. You've got all sorts of challenges that either someone like a MoneyGram has to cover off for, or you have to figure out how to do that through partnerships. And so that's where things like stablecoin, that's where stablecoin settlement, that's where sending money and enabling consumers to have sort of stable value can actually get really, really interesting. And that's also where you see a lot of consumers shifting to other forms of payment because of the volatility that you find in markets. So it's really about building and creating flexibility, and it's really about bringing that to the consumers, but also bringing that to the partners. And so that's kind of the balance that we've tried to play, and I think it's gone quite well. Okay, so I've mentioned Access quite a few times. That's probably why a lot of you are here. So, you know, what is MoneyGram Access? So this is Alicia, if you don't know her. She loves using MoneyGram Access because she actually helped create it. And she's actually one of the few leaders on the team that's kind of been here kind of from beginning to start as we've kind of gone through this journey. We actually kind of envisioned and sort of created the baseline of MoneyGram Access many years ago as a kind of a fun session with Jed and David one day. And then since then, really 5 years ago, I think, have passed, and we've really now in year 6 have actually begun to scale and really push and grow this in a way that's very different and very dynamic. Basically, at this point in time, you can cash in 36 countries, cash out in 170 countries. Basically, from a user experience, you're just entering your information into the system, into whatever wallet you may have, and using MoneyGram basically Access to derive the payouts that way. There is another session sort of covering this tomorrow with Anna Greenwald, who's our COO at MoneyGram, kind of in charge of a lot of different feature functionality here, but mostly importantly is in charge of product. She's also in charge of IT. And she's going to talk a lot about kind of the MoneyGram Access, the expansion of MoneyGram ecosystem, and some of the challenges that we've had.